Coy, my young Texan friend, what is up? Welcome to TSA. This is going to serve as your startup video. So, what this is just going to be a basic overview of your program and the spreadsheet and a reminder of how the coaching process works. Before you watch the rest of this video, highly recommend that you read the entire startup email as well as the getting the most out of your coaching document that is attached. Once you've done those two things, open up your protocol, which is also attached to the email, and kind of follow along with me. So, the most important tabs in this sheet are the logging and the training tab. Those are the ones that you need to fill out on a weekly basis. I'll kind of go over the others just really quickly. This nutrition tab here is just kind of an overview of everything. It shows your macros, some recommendations for meals, sleep, fiber, fruits and veggies, and water, as well as how far under weight we are. The reference tab is the RPE to percentage conversion chart. It lists your maxes out. I know those are a bit approximate because you haven't really ever maxed out raw, but those are there. We'll kind of have to play those by ear. If they end up being too easy or too difficult, we can certainly adjust. If we were ever doing cardio, that would be there. And then there's some recommendations as far as supplements. Remember, they are recommendations. They're not 100% necessary. But if you think that they would be worth your money, you can always click on them and you'll be taken to examine.com, which has an overview of the research on each of them. The 2017 tab is actually our yearly planner, so we can see our intensity and volume over the course of the entire year, should I be lucky enough to continue to work with you that long. It's going to be very interesting, and it's a unique opportunity for me as a coach to get to work with a high school athlete that does compete single ply. I know that the predominant amount of our training is going to be raw during the off season, but should you consider, should you continue to want to work with me into your high school season, it's going to be a fun journey getting to work with some more single ply stuff, as that'll be a new one for me. Anyway, you can kind of see some of the statistics as far as total volume, total average load displayed right here, and you can actually play around with some of the variables. Like, for example, if you wanted to see the total squat volume over the course of the first block, you can kind of check that out there. Pretty cool. So feel free to mess around with that, and if you have any questions on how that works or what I was trying to achieve with certain things, feel free to let me know. There's space here for different types of goals, both process-oriented and quantified. I have us doing an AMRAP at 96% as being our end to this training cycle, so that'll be your skills test. So basically that'll be the heaviest lifts that you'll touch at the end of this training cycle, and we'll basically just try to do as many reps as possible on each of the lifts and use that to approximate a new 1 rep max on each of the the 3 lifts. Now, on this side, this is the progress tab. You can fill in your past meet results here, and you can actually kind of track your progress over time. And we also have the warm-up tab, which just has some standardized warm-ups that might be a good idea to do. Once you get in the habit of it, it only takes about 10 minutes, and it will have you nice and prepared to lift. Okay, now for the important tabs. The logging tab is where you will log your nutrition. Now, I know this is kind of new for you as a high school student, but if you want to, actually be able to gain some weight like we talked about, it'll probably be helpful for you to start tracking. Like we talked about, MyFitnessPal is probably the way to go for that. I have your macronutrient targets set up right here, being about 160 protein, 245 carbs, and 65 fat. We have some ranges on those of about 20 grams on carbs and protein and 10 on fat, just so it's a little bit more manageable. Now, obviously, you're a busy kid, and it's not going to be perfect every single day, so minimum thing we should certainly strive for is calories and protein, and then above that, fitting within these macronutrient ranges is the best possible solution. So on a daily basis, what you're going to be doing for me is recording your weight as soon as you wake up in the morning after you go to the bathroom, and then at the end of the day, you're going to be recording the macronutrients that you hit. Obviously, we're not doing any cardio, but you would record that too if we were, and then notes for lifting. There's also space here to record variables based upon your recovery. So that's just a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, of how you slept, your alertness, desire to train, fatigue, recovery. I do look at those to just make sure that we're getting the right amounts of fatigue in the right times during the training cycle. So please do fill that out. So all of that on a weekly basis by the time your check-in comes around. Okay, now on to the good stuff, training. So as far as level of volume and what we're attacking things with, we're still kind of going with similar levels to what you were doing before. It's just a little bit different rep ranges and spread out a little bit more. I did add some additional squat volume just based upon what you provided as far as information and what we talked about on the call. You could also maybe consider that some additional quad work like we talked about in the form of the front squat. So that's just some additional volume on day 2. I guess you'd call it like a half day of frequency. Beyond that, it's very simple. Little bit of variance in that your hypertrophy work is actually going to be pause squats. So that'll be a little bit of extra time under tension in the hole, as well as working on control in that bottom position like we talked about. All of the strength work has a little bit heavier triple to start the day, and then some back off work. The power bench press day also has a really easy single to start, just because the bench tends to do a little bit better when you load it a little bit heavier, a little more often. So we have that there for you. The only major change that we're going to be making is we're really going to work on the sumo deadlift here in the off season. Not that there isn't a benefit to doing conventional, but really want to work on that raw form. So on your lighter day, you're just going to be doing full on sumo deadlift, and then on your heavier days, we're actually going to be loading a paused deadlift, which is going to be paused for as soon as you come off the floor for 1 second as your heavy variant. Everything else is pretty standard. There's a little bit of unilateral work in there just to make sure everything is going and developing evenly. We've got all the lat work that we talked about and some additional quad and glute work in the form of dumbbell split squats and barbell glute bridges. Should you have any questions, let me know. Just a reminder that I need this sheet filled out, footage of your squat, benches, and deadlifts, and a summary of the week. For me, once a week, your check-in day is going to be Thursday. Do friend me on Facebook, and I will add you to the TS Athletes Facebook group. Again, welcome to TSA, and I'm so excited to be working with you. I look forward to developing an excellent coach-athlete relationship and making you into the best possible 165 lifter that we can. Have a good one, Coy, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.